Please state your name for the record and that you are a Monroeville resident.
My name is Patrick Mynahan. I am a Monroeville resident. Okay. Evening, everybody. I also need to expand on some things that were said last Thursday. I would like to remind you that Mr. Little stated that he is having difficulty getting a meeting with the State Attorney General's office, and it's not the fault of Monroeville. I disagree. I'm sure you're all aware of the email I sent Councilwoman Gresock a few months ago with a letter attached from the State Attorney General. In this letter, the AG stated they did in fact perform an audit of the Alert TS software. They were in fact physically here for the audit, and they did try to schedule a meeting with the mayor, Manager McKinney, Solicitor Dice, and council. However, according to this letter, the meeting was rescheduled at the request of Mayor Arasenko. The letter goes on to say Solicitor Dice contacted the AG and asked why a meeting was even necessary. Over the last few days, an email popped up online from Mayor Arasenko to all parties in Monroeville involved concerning this meeting. In the email, Mayor Arasenko goes on to say that not only was he unable to attend, but neither could Solicitor Dice and Councilman Johns, Duncan, and Gresock. A few months back, Mr. Little stated here that perception is everything. I agree. I'm going to tell you how the perception about this meeting business looks to me. First, it looks like the mayor didn't want to have the meeting days before last election day, probably because he had a feeling he wasn't going to like what he heard, and it possibly could have changed the outcome of the election. Nobody knows. He played politics with our town for his own benefit and possibly the benefit of 4 new council members. Secondly, I don't think Mr. Duncan, Mr. Johns, and Dr. Gresock, wanted to attend because they also didn't want to hear what the state had to say. Since they had been supportive of Chief Cole from the start of this whole mess, perhaps they didn't want to hear that they were wrong. While we're on the subject of the AG and the investigation, I want to point out something to Mr. Harvey. I don't think it will be a surprise to you, sir. I think you're a very smart man, and you have this already figured out. I don't know what makes you or any other fire chief think that they should have been questioned by the state during the course of their audit. According to Mr. Charba, a deputy attorney general, they were here to audit the Alert TS software as it pertains to CREA. Unless I'm mistaken, the municipality's servers are what was needed to accomplish this, not the PCs at the individual fire stations. If I'm right, they are slaves to the servers. You don't need them, you need the servers. Mr. Charber was able to do everything he needed to do here and was not needed or required to travel anywhere else. Also, Mr. Harvey, since you had made your position well known, either in these chambers or to the media prior to the audit, what would have been the point of asking you any questions? The state's audit was to determine whether or not unauthorized personnel accessed the dispatch software. It was also to determine what steps the municipality was taking to prevent it from happening again. In essence, the municipality was under investigation, not you, Mr. Harvey, or Number 5 Fire Hall. In any case, since there were generic usernames and passwords given out, no specific individual could or will be identified. Everybody had the same username and password. Since Mr. Charba last fall was satisfied that Chief Stephen Pasquarella and Manager McKinney had taken the steps necessary to prevent a future occurrence, one of which was the fire chief Cole and a few dispatchers who abused their authority, and since the mayor and several councilmen had canceled the meeting, the state decided the case was closed and nothing further was needed. Now, 10 months after the state determined this, a councilman, Mr. Harvey, who was an outspoken critic and a fire chief, along with the reinstated police chief that the state decided needed to be fired, along with a manager who wasn't here during the course of the investigation, wants to have a sit-down, the state is supposed to rush out from Harrisburg? It's simple. They were here, and they did what they were supposed to do. You guys choose not to believe them, question their integrity, and downplay the audit to suit your own political needs. You play dumb and act like you're the ones trying to get to the bottom of it, and when the state won't play your game, you blame them for inaction. Once again, you guys either refuse to believe investigations already completed, or badmouth them, or you make stuff up to cover up certain things you don't want the public to know. I assure you there are plenty of us who are going to keep on searching until we find the real truth, not your version of the truth. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And I will agree with Mr. Mynahan as far as seeking the truth. What I'm really interested in, and I think Council's interested in as well, as far as what the Attorney General's office based their investigation on. Were they physically here, and what information did they actually go on? Did they go off of what we're finding out now, a failed report with indiscrepancies? Was it based on emails from a past manager or from a past council person? Was there a true investigation? There was not a meeting with the Attorney General, but this council certainly is willing to meet and furthermore find out exactly how they determined, got to these findings and what they based their investigation on. But we do understand that we have to go by the Attorney General's schedule. So moving on.